Hey everyone, Darlene here. Welcome back to my dungeon. Today, my party continues their adventure on Stormwreck Isle. They had just finished their miniature movie adventure leaving Seagrow Caves and are now going up to the cursed Shipwreck. Even though I do have the miniatures featured in episode 1, the Kobolds, they're in 2D acrylic form, I did want to get the 3D version, of course. They're the best. I keep talking about this every video. So I went out and got some, 9 of them to be exact. And 3 of them are winged. And then the last one is the Harpy. That one's going to be on the cursed shipwreck. So I had to get another one of them. I did have one painted already, and I kind of wasn't pleased with it. It was like one of my first main miniatures that I had painted. So I wanted to go back to it. Might as well show you guys what I'm doing and see if I can do any better. So both of these packages were purchased from Cardboard Memories Inc., located in Brampton, Ontario. Each package was $4.99 plus tax. They do cost the same, but you're seeing 2 medium creatures with another package that's 3 small creatures, but the same value. So if you didn't want to paint the kobolds, you can actually get them pre-painted. One of them's in a Cave Defenders pack. You can get a Kobold Warband pack, which I almost went and did. And then the other one is the Frameworks one, which I'm very interested in grabbing, but at the moment I'm not going to touch any frameworks. I'm just going to finish using the traditional minis, and then I'll probably do a series of frameworks as I'm getting into that stuff. So first, we're going to start with the kobolds. This is my reference. I didn't know what this was for the longest time. I believe that's a skunk when I found another picture zoomed in. The teeth are going to be really difficult, I'm guessing, to get in there. But everything looks so red. Even the leather, the straps, the brown that's on their clothing, like, to me it just almost seems like one color, and I don't want to do that per se. I want the clothes to stand out a bit more. So I'm going to also be using the monster manual as a reference. So opening this up, we're seeing the 3 black discs on the bottom for their bases. I prefer the clear, I say it every time, but this is probably an older product, maybe a couple years, haven't looked into it. Incredible detail, jeez. I do want to get all of that. The strap, the belt, that's the Dragonshield. The Inventor, as we were seeing on the back of the package. What I like about this is you're seeing like a scorpion tail at the top. And on the bottom he's got some sort of spike or multiple spikes. And then in his basket on his back is the skunk, I guess. That's the Inventor side of him, getting people to be grossed out and not attack him. It's kind of clever. Alright, so now you're seeing the wing kobold up close in detail. Really bizarre. It looks like the wings are stitched. The bones look cool coming out of the wings, like they're sharp. Not sharp, excuse me, blunt. Again, in the chest area, there's a lot more detail right underneath the arms there, which is awesome. So we're going to start priming every one of them. It does say primed and ready to go out of the box. Again, this is just my opinion based on what I've experienced. I'll take gray primer, just dilute it a bit of water, add it on very thin, and then I feel it tacks on better. Nothing over time will chip away or flake off. And again, for this episode, I'll be using the basic Dungeons and Dragons paintbrush set. I think it's like 12 bucks still. You get the base coat, detail, and dry brush. So I just want to show you what you can do with the most basic paint set. So to begin, just my step. It's optional for you guys, but I do recommend it. I'm going to use the brush on primer. What you want to do is just pour out what's remaining at the very top of the bottle, because it's a little bit separated. Squeeze out the remaining paint at the very top and then shake it vigorously. And I'm going to see what it looks like. Actually, it's still a little bit of dark edges. So I'm going to close it and then shake it again. So 3rd time worked. Okay, so here we go. The first miniature we're going to prime very quick. I want to spread it over as much surface as possible. I do not want to let this pool in. I say it every time. I'm a broken record, but trust me, you want to keep all the detail. Don't forget to wet your brush every now and then push all that water off. Let it dry. On to the next. As you're doing this, be sure to get right in underneath. Don't leave any corner unprimed. And then onto the winged kobold. Oh man, I love the detail. Oh, that's so cool. So just to show you a before and after, see, I find I just can see much more detail on the primed one. And then when you're done priming, just wet your brush, wipe it on like a cloth. And while we're waiting for those guys to dry for the primer, I'm going to go ahead and open up the other package with the Harpy that we need going in there. This is 2 medium creatures. You've got the traditional black bases. So look at that. Look at the detail on the wings. That's incredible. I can even see the facial expression with her mouth open slightly to the side. That is cool. So yeah, that looks far more challenging than my initial memories here. Neat. I'm not going to do crazy amount of work on it, but I will try to get those feathers to look nice. Do my best. All right, let's prime it up. So I'm going to try and quickly spread this as fast as I can. This is what I want, more so just barely catching it so it looks like it's not enough, but it actually is. Just keep going over and over and over and over and over. That way you'll see it pop more. And do your best trying not to touch the transparent base that's holding her up. I'm very, very, very pleased with the detail on this one. At least I can see it more because it's a larger miniature than the kobolds are very tiny. But the detail is there. I love it. Awesome. So I'm just wetting the brush, getting rid of all that gray primer, drying it off on a cloth. We're going to be using Kobold Red for the skin, for the scales all over each of their bodies. Open the bottle and then get rid of any remaining paint at the top. There's going to be a lot of clear liquid here. I haven't used this bottle, I think, ever. And for this, I'm actually going to use the detail right off the hop because these guys are really tiny. I recommend just touching the paint and then streaking it on your plate, getting rid of half of it. That way you have control of the amount going on. It's not going to puddle up. So for the dragon shield guy, but we'll worry about getting his teeth and all that stuff later, his mouth, I'm just getting it on the exposed face. I'm still using the same paint on the brush. I have not gone back. There's so much on it, it's crazy. It's getting behind his leg even though I can't see it, I'm just sticking it underneath. I'm actually going to do one more coat and that should be it. I'm going to finish the other two just the same. I'm trying to spread it as much as I can. Under the chin. Getting the legs and the tail. Now I'm okay with getting it on the strap, but I don't want to put too much on there, that's for sure. Trying to get into his back, just behind that giant basket. Well, I say giant for him. So now that I have one coat on the Inventor, I'm going to put one coat on the Sorcerer. I'm just going to cover his head, his arms, whatever is exposed again. So I'm going to let that dry and I'll do a second coat for the Inventor and the Sorcerer. So based on what I'm seeing here on the back of the package as my reference, when it comes to the middle guy, the dragon shield, it looks like a stone shield. And then he's wearing like a brown cowl. It just appears to be a darker brown underneath his cowl. We're going to use Cambion Crimson for his cowl. I really like it, so I'm going to do that for the other two. So that's what it looks like with two coats of Cambion Crimson on the cowl. I'm going to fix that in the corner. I just saw it as I came down. Alright, so now I'm going to use Dungeon Stone. It's a darker gray. I don't know how much more you'll see it. We're going to use it on the shield though. And then afterwards we'll add a black tone to it and then it'll look really dark. Yeah, that's much darker. Okay, so after just one coat of the Dungeon Stone, so looking at this picture again, I'm seeing it just looks like a dark brown for his chest and maybe a lighter brown in the tassels in his crotch area, but I'm not sure. I'm going to go with Bugbear Brown for his chest, see what it looks like. Going right, I'm going to cover the entire area and then I'll worry about getting the straps on a different color. Also too, for the wood, I am going to do a Bugbear Brown. I actually only do Bugbear Brown right now. There is wood colors by other companies, but I'm going from a 3 or 4 year old set. So I wouldn't add that tone to his clothing, but I can to his staff. And you would see a difference. And so now I want to capture its teeth, and then I'll go to its snout, and its claws are black. Looks like the spear is also a tooth. So I'm going to use a bone color there. So for anything bone, I use skeleton bone. I'm going to try and get the teeth. Just trying to catch those tiny raised areas. Like that. So I'm going to let that dry. I think the front teeth are a little too strong, those two front teeth. I'm going to do that I believe to be a tooth. Even on the back of the package, it is this color. It's not silver. Makes sense. So I'm going to do the back plate. So I'm going to make that mithril silver. And this is mithril silver right here. It's awesome. Check it out. It's an effect. So that'll do the trick. Let it dry. So on the inside of his arm, showing where he's holding that shield here, I want to try and get that strap. So we're going to be using Bugbear Brown for this. So I'm trying to give you an example like that, just where it's a little bit lighter tone, so you can see it's a strap, not his arm. But his arm's underneath it, the strap. And now we're going to try and do the belt buckle somehow. Oh, mithril silver, just that square in that inside buckle. Moving forward, I'm going to use Owlbear Brown for these straps. Just around his waist right here. Trying to give it more like a belt. Next, I want to use Sturge Tan for the inside of the mouth. So I'm going to use Bugbear Brown and Lawful White, mix them together, just giving a bit of rope effect at the edge of the spear. If you look at the monster manual, my reference right now, it actually shows that Kobold Red is the dark spots that you're seeing on their arms, so I kind of want to give a bit of highlight. Just a subtle effect, so it's not so deep red. So I'm going to try using Minotaur Hide as the striped effect, giving it like a highlight. So we're going to use a Bizzle Black. The very tips of the toes, the claws. Try and do tips here. And the last thing we want to do with the black, Bizzle Black, is apply it to the nose, just the ball part of the nose. Small amount. Alright, so we're going to use the red tone, Quick Shade, Army Painter, to wash. I'm almost painting the entire cowl now that I think about it with this. And that's okay. Now I'm going to add a dark tone to the stone shield. So for this one, we are only going to get in the deep, deep crevices, the cracks. I'm not going to paint on the very top part, just in here. When that dries, that should give it that three-dimensional effect. I'll have to check it out in a few minutes. So also you want to get that dark tone right in the shield, the inside here that you're seeing all the lines. Also too, I want to add that dark tone to that steel pan on the back, left shoulder there. Just so it's not so clean, not so shiny. Just mute it a bit with a black tone, dark tone. There, that's it, just touching it, literally with the brush. And it gets inside that little square there, the buckle. And now I'm going to be using a soft tone. That's going to be on the rope part connecting to the spear. Going back to Dungeon Stone just to touch the very tips of the dragon shield. And wherever the lines are pointing towards the tip, go along that. So I'm just going to do that. Add to the tips here and then let it dry. When I'm looking at the 2D acrylic, a 3D premium painted, and then my version, they all are distinctly different. This guy's really red. This one's like a dragonfire or more orange red, with some wash just randomly put everywhere. And then mine, I'm using the monster manual as my reference. So if you look up Kobold, and I'll show you a picture right now with the actual palette, or the swatches, excuse me. And I feel like they're all inconsistent, but I'm gonna go by the monster manual for these guys. Next is the Inventor. And I am going to continue to use the detail brush. Here we go. So the scorpion tail, the whole thing, just cover it in black. You could do it with the base coat brush, no problem. It'd be a little faster. Again, though, you'd have a lot more paint on the surface, which takes longer to dry, and it'll take all the little lines and cover it with paint as opposed to showing it. Okay, so now the tail, using the same paint on my brush. There's still plenty. Put too much. Here I am going on about how not to put too much on. Okay, so that's what it looks like with a solid black color. So we're going to be using Bugbear Brown for this. Okay, so now just going to cover the complete basket, trying not to get it on the other objects, but it's okay. Underneath the basket, right here, just gently rubbing it. Trying to get into the back area right here without touching his back if I can. It's no biggie if it happens. It's just a little harder to touch up later. And the rim of the basket right here, try and get that. And I'm going to do this part, Bugbear Brown as well. And the staff. On the back, he does have a little flap here. So I'm going to keep that Bugbear Brown as well. Between the metal parts that I'm going to be using, right on the staff still, I would like to get in with it so it looks like it's a part of the staff. I think I have too much on my brush, but that's okay because we're going to paint over that with the mithril silver. Alright, now using mithril silver. But boom, instant transformation. Comes to life. Very cool, very cool. Okay, so for the rope around the staff, I'm going to be using, I think it's pronounced Atya Brown and Lawful White. Alright, so using Owlbear Brown for the straps. I have no idea what that is, like an ammo pouch, but it does look red on the inside, some sort of yellow-ish brown, and a green rim. So I'll be using Dragonfire Red to get inside of that bracelet, whatever that is. I'm just going to go all over, along the bracelet, and then I can touch up the green over top, and then the yellow. I had to hold my breath there for a sec, wow. So I'll be using Angelic Yellow for the, I guess the bullets or whatever those little shapes are, just above the red. Which I'm just gonna do this over and over until the brush catches the highest point, because I don't want to push down and then get it in there. I'm gonna try and be as detailed as possible. Whoa, yeah, like that. I just kind of too much on my brush. And that's what you get. That's what you get. Here I am preaching. Okay, so now we have some yellow stripes on the inside at the highest ridge. Treant green for the ridges of his bracelet or whatever that thing is. Okay, so the smallest amount on the brush, because this is just gonna touch the ridge. I'm gonna do my best. This is where I go a little cross-eyed. No joke. Just touch the ridge, just touch. Grazing. I'm holding it with both hands. Oh, come on. Oh, just touch. Whew. Wow. Okay, so next I'd like to try and dry brush the white on the back of the skunk. I am going to give him a little bit of a solid line from the head going into the body, and then the tail I'm going to attempt to dry brush. I say attempt, I don't want to get white everywhere, but we'll see. So using Lawful White. Alright, here goes. The very top of his head. This is the detail brush, getting a solid line. And then down his body, but maybe the tail too, just the line down the middle. And then we're going to dry brush it out. Just using the dry brush, dabbing it, and of course, get rid of most of it on a piece of paper towel or cloth, something you have. Now I'm just kind of pushing the bristles. Let me bring it up this way. There. Okay, we're gonna use angelic yellow again. And I didn't see this, but it's on his cuff coming out. And then we're gonna use the green again for a little dot. That green dot and that trace around. Other than that, his hand kind of blends into everything with his legs. Back to tree on green. And try and get this close up. There's a high ridge on his wrist. Subtle, right there, right at the tip of his wrist. That's all I'm gonna do is touch that. There. So tiny, so tiny. Ugh. I'll leave it at that, even if I didn't hit it. Next, we're gonna use skeleton bone to do the teeth. So I'm just gonna try and graze the lip area with the skeleton bone and hope that it touches just the teeth, like that. Let's see what that looks like when it dries, and I can go under his chin more, touching it up, but just leaving that to touch those ridges. We'll see. Back to Kobold Red. So looking for any areas that just need touch-ups. There, like his elbow. His knee has silver on it. And I'm gonna attempt to touch up that face. I won't be showing you every little touch-up, but here's an example. Just touching more of his chin, reducing that tooth line. Now back to Abyssal Black for the claws. So just doing a little bit of black at the tips of his fingers. And then on his feet. When that dries, when I add gray primer to the base, I'll go in between his toes so it's more distinct. Almost forgot his snout and the tips of his ears or horns here. Just want to touch the tips. And then the nose of the snout. Very tip. It's like a little ball for a nose. Alright, so now I'm going back to Minotaur hide. So I'm just going to go from left to right in areas. Hopefully get a couple stripes going. From the forehead down. Raised spots, and I do know underneath the chin it is far lighter. And of course the tail and the legs going for a striped effect again. I'm gonna let that dry, see what it looks like. Okay, just touching up the scorpion tail with black. Whatever's on my brush, just getting the black onto the tail again. So I'm gonna try using a mid-brown wash and see how that looks on the basket. Also on the top of the basket, I'm just going to put a bit of wash in there, right by the skunk. I'm going to try a light tone for the rope at the edge here of the staff. So right here, where the scorpion tail attaches to the staff. So I had to test this out. I put red tone on this guy here on my left, and kept this one here. So you can see the difference. It's so subtle, but I like it. I'm going to put red tone on the remaining kobolds. Red tone, quick shade, army painter, wash. I am careful to just put it on the skin only. Scales, not any of the clothing. Just trying to lightly paint it on, not get a lot. So I'm digging this already. It's much more of a deep red now that I've applied a red tone to all of the skin. So we're gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna add some gray primer to the bottom to separate all that stuff and see how it looks. Alright, so looking at the winged kobold for a reference on the back of the card here. So it looks like he's got black straps around his wrists and his shins, and black shorts, and a lightly tanned colored shirt, and then the wings look like they have a gradient of color, but is it shadowing? I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. But I do have the skin tone down. Now we're just going to do the clothing. I'm going to mix Bugbear Brown with this Ot Yug, or whatever it's called, brown. Now mixing 2-to-1 Ot Yug brown, whatever. The lighter brown is 2-to-1. So twice as much of the lighter stuff. Okay, so I'm looking just to get his clothing here. Trying to get in underneath his arms here and in the belly. So the cloth goes back here like a cape, which is interesting. Like the whole thing, I believe, is joined from the front to the back, leading into the back. So that's just one coat of the 2-to-1 brown, I'll call it. Going back to the abyssal black for the wristbands, the shorts, and the shin bands, as well as the tips of the horns and the nose here. And then to his shorts here. So I'm going to try Minotaur hide on the wings and just coat the wings in that. I'm going to use the base coat brush, make it a lot faster. Then we'll add tones and stuff after. I'm not sure what yet, but I just feeling that this should be the base color for the wings. So that's just one coat of Minotaur hide. Going back to the skeleton bone, we're going to put this on the literal bones in their wings right here. Just going to do that to all of them and let it dry. Okay, so going back and forth, having to touch up constantly because I dab into another color accidentally, so you didn't have to see that, but you know you'll have to do it if you try as well. I'm going to try a strong tone and see if that really makes it pop. Using my base coat brush, just trying to get over the little dots just by touching that area. It's going to seep into the small spots where the dots are poking out of. Switching back to the detail brush. So I want that to be darker at the top, from the top going down. So now what I recommend is tracing the lines that are deep along this bone part, because that'll help it pop through. Like right here, that's gotta dry, but that'll make it much darker, giving it that 3D effect. But you don't want it to pull up in spots. Quick side comparison, you're seeing one with the wash and one without the wash. This is just very flat looking, and again, this isn't fully dry, but that gives it more tone and depth, more shadows. And while that's drying, let's go back to the skeleton bone and we'll put some teeth on these guys. Just like this over and over. Just until something catches. Like that. So once this dries up, I want to do a highlight with Ready Skin, touching the tops here, just slightly going over, so it gives it more 3D depth. Okay, so we're going to use owlbear brown for the strap going across the chest, right where that little belt buckle is. I'm going to make this all dark brown and then put a little belt buckle, using mithril silver if I can. So back to the abyssal black for the claws. Be tricky. Just touching. Back to mithril silver for the belt buckle on the strap of the kobold. There's a belt buckle right up by his shoulder there. Okay, that's it. Just touching that one spot. I'm going to give a thin red tone around the body only. Just a little bit. I mean, you might not even notice it. Back to the red tone. Not touching the black. Trying not to. So I'm going back to Ready Skin at the top of their horns, giving them a bit of highlight. Using red tone for the flames. Now onto the Harpy. I'd actually purchased this a long time ago. This was for the Phandelver adventure, excuse me. It was Tower of Storms, so there was harpies involved with that. I actually painted this incorrectly. I didn't use the reference, the back of the card, or the monster manual. My wife had pointed this out, that it looks very angelic and that harpies don't have white wings and golden hair and, dressed all clean and stuff. They'd be dirty and all haggard or whatever, looking wretched and stuff. So I am going to do a different harpy, paint this one from scratch. We had already primed this from before, but if this turns out like the monster manual, I'm going to use that as my reference. Then I'm going to paint the second one very close. Because they are now level 3 going into Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, which is the Cursed Shipwreck. If they were level 2, I only have to worry about one harpy, but I'm trying to play by the book, mostly. So when it comes to the harpy wings, after looking at a few other references, I want to use it just like I did the owlbear. So this was actually my second miniature I'd ever painted. Real quick, there's an amazing tutorial online, and if you just follow that tutorial, I'm not kidding, I'll put in a link somewhere. You'd be surprised. That's all I did, is just follow the steps. So as I'm showing a picture of the harpy from the monster manual, she has like a blue, purple, pale type complexion all over her body. And the closest thing I can think of that I liked was using my giant octopus from chapter 1 and seeing underneath the sturge tan with a blue tone. I'm going to do sturge tan with a purple tone, and hopefully that will give the result that you're seeing on screen. If not, I might do another coat of purple tone. I know that will make it darker, but I do believe that would be the simplest, most effective way of getting that result. We'll see. So to begin, let's use sturge tan. Usually I always and only use this on the tongues of creatures. Gonna go with the base coat brush because it's gonna be all over her skin. It doesn't matter if it gets on her clothes really, but I'm just gonna get all over her legs, arms, and face. Going over the face. Gently, just touching. Arms. Try to look at every different angle that you can. That's really the key to a lot of this, is the patience. That's what I meant by following it step by step. Because it can appear to be daunting at first, but when you're doing it, hands-on, it's a lot of fun and it's timeless. Alright, so that's one coat of sturge tan. But in the meantime, we can do the feathers. Why not, right? So I'm just going to cover the entire wings with owlbear brown. This is easy right now because I'm just getting it everywhere, all over the feathers, but I don't want it to be soaked in it. Again, trying to spread it over the entire surface as much as I can using the paint on my brush. Detail, detail, detail. So that's one coat, both wings. Gonna let that dry. Okay, so that's 2 coats. Now doing a second coat of sturge tan, just being very careful. You're just watching that you don't touch the wing that you just spent 2 coats on, or that I did, but you as well, hopefully. And now we're gonna use Underdark Gray. So we're just painting the main chest area clothing. Underdark Gray. Going on to the back and painting all of that, the cloth. So I'm going to try Abyssal Black as the belt along her waist and going down. I'm okay with getting those rings because I'm going to put silver on that. Try my best not to touch anything else. Like that. Let's try Bugbear Brown for the hair. I have a lot on my brush. I should stop, but I'm still going 1 sec. Look at her face. The details there, just whether or not I can pull it off. Okay, so now I want to add some mithril silver to those buckles going down. Just touching again, just want to touch. Just want to graze it like that. The bottom one was the best example. Okay, so let's try using ethereal blue. I believe there is another layer that I did not see up until now. Right underneath the skirt, there's a lining right there. And then that actually is the layer that separates from the top, the gray, flowing down. So I don't want bright, vibrant colors. I want dull and dirty. So I think ethereal blue with the dark gray, or with the underdark gray, and all of this will work. We'll see. Just touching, just touching. Oh, right at the rim. Yes, that's gonna be here. All right, and under here too. and then you can just go in sideways with your brush, just touching it. Try not to touch the feet that you just painted, but it's okay if you do. You can touch it up. So we're going to throw some purple tone all over the harpy's skin. Should do some cool. Don't want to put too much on, just hardly any. Again, not too much. Oh, that's a lot already. See, it just looks like this drop of water. We want to smear like that. I should actually explain that I would put it in the crevice first, because that's what's going to stand out. And then rub the remainder, not leaving puddles. You do want to give it a purple tone all over, but not leaving it streaky, because it'll look like crap if you do. So now I'm trying to smear it because I didn't like how blotchy that looked. So now that this is dry, I want to give it a highlight in the highest points here. So taking Sturge Tan, perfect example, just showing the ridges of her face. I want that highest points here to be pronounced. And just touching, just dabbing, because it's going to touch those areas first. Like the brow, the nose, the mouth. There, it's just catching. And the forehead, just dabbing. So I want that color to stay. So I'm going to let that dry like that. The top of the bicep. Along the highest point of the forearms here. Same idea. Top of the bicep. The shoulder even. Along the top of the forearm. Back to the quad. Stripe there. Along the top muscle. I can see it. I want to put a stripe there. It's much better. I'm very happy with that. I'm going to leave the feet darker like that. I don't want to put any more of this. I want them to actually look like it's a gradient going into a darker area. So I'm going to use what was originally used on that owlbear, and that is the brown wash by the army painter in the D&D set here, not from the quick shade set I've been showing you guys. So yeah, we just want to cover the entire wing surface with brown wash, but not pooling everywhere, but so it gets into all of those crevices. Yeah, right in the wings there. But you do want to have some darkness, just not too much in one spot. Alright, first coat of brown wash all over the wings, and probably the only coat. Gonna use a Bizzle Black for the claws, the talons. Just getting it on the edges of each tip. Getting in here is tricky right there. That's a clenched fist, so you're good there, I think. So now we're going to dry brush Minotaur hide. Get rid of almost all of it on your paper towel. So I'm going to go this way from top to bottom. Subtle effect, just ever so lighter. Yes, I am seeing that. The tips of the feathers here. I'm just using the same amount. Or maybe actually, I'm going to make this a bit lighter with Bugbear Brown. I'm going to see what that looks like. So from dark up top to Minotaur to Bugbear at the very tips. Now I'm just taking that Bugbear Brown, just touching the very tips of the feathers. I'm not sure what this will do. I would think in the highest ridges it would highlight best. Okay, so after dry brushing the Minotaur hide here, and then taking Bugbear Brown and just adding it to the tips, making it a bit lighter, you can see a gradient of brown now instead of just that solid color. At least that's what I'm hoping you can see. Dun, dun, dun. 9 kobolds, 2 harpies, all set to go for Chapter 3, Cursed Shipwreck for Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. Coming soon.